A lot of this is going to be more conversational, but I'd love to give the opportunity just for a formal intro, at least. So if you want to introduce yourself, what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Ivan Batinich. I'm the owner of the Great and Glory Boxing Fitness Studio, located at 394 Barack Obama Boulevard. Open invitation to anybody of you guys watching. Feel free to pop in.
And y'all, he will kick your butt, but, you know, with kindness.
Welcome to Here to Uplift. This is where we uplift our community by sharing the real stories and wisdom of entrepreneurs, changemakers, and innovators. No fluff, just the good, bad, and ugly of their journeys. It's a new season, and we are breaking bread in a segment I call Let's Talk About It, highlighting the food and culture of Silicon Valley. So you might get a little hungry. Your support means everything. So if you enjoy this episode, learn something new, or feel inspired, please share it with a friend or that entrepreneur who needs a boost. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome back, y'all, to the Here to Uplift podcast. I am excited to be bringing on not just a business owner and local entrepreneur, but also my neighbor, Ivan. So
Thanks for having me.
So why studio? I think you said fitness studio or boxing studio rather than gym. Is there difference for you in the words?
It's small and personalized. I wouldn't consider it a gym. When I think of a gym, I think of it as weights specifically, and it's more private, more personalized. So I consider it to be a studio.
Okay. What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, what I found is that people have different starting points when I start to work with them. So it helps to somewhat personalize the training, plus or minus movement patterns, progressions and regressions based on what it is that they're able to do effectively.
Okay.
So that's why I think that it's appropriate to personalize the training.
It's like interesting to see, like when I've taken the morning class, for example, we're all at such different levels. So each of us, you're giving it like it's quick, but at the same time, you're giving us all something different along the same lines of like what muscle we're training.
Again, I think of it as a plus or minus one. So if you can't do the standard, we'll regress it slightly. Make it more appropriate based on your fitness level. And, men and women both have different, priorities and strengths.
Yeah.
So
that's like exactly what I try to do in yoga when I'm teaching yoga classes. Is like, okay, modification one, if you want to take it a step down, if you want to take it a step up, and giving the options. I think one of the big differences is, for me, it's like, I'll show all the ways, but it's still up to you to like pick which one's going to fit your body. And like, I'm hoping that they build body awareness through that. And I think in more of like a fitness gym space, it's sometimes hard to even know how much can I do? Like, cause if you've never really pushed yourself further, it's easy to just kind of limit and be like, I'll just stay right here. So when you push me, I'm like, I didn't even know I could carry that weight, or I didn't know I could squat that deep. So I'm always surprised.
One thing that I've noticed is like in the moment, you're feeling good, you feel excited, the other people are training hard, you can get motivated to do more than what you really should be doing. And then you're going to really suffer the next day. So when I first started to work with people, I advocate that they take it slow.
Yeah. Like consistency is really my goal right now. It's not a particular like strength goal. Yeah. It's just getting consistent.
Yeah, developing a routine. I would say that consistency is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you?
That's me.
Wait. It looks like the very Ivan thing.
But this is Ivan.
What? Wait, what? We got the short ribs.
There's more. There's more.
Dude, I'm like, what the?
He's like, wait a second. She got this massive plate and he got a tiny taco.
Yeah, so shout out to Daniel Ortega, another entrepreneur locally.
Yes.
Constable, world famous Constable, Mexico.
Yeah, so our family's come to this once before. And as part of this series, we always ask folks, like, what are your favorites? What are your known spots? So I'm super excited for us to enjoy this because last time we came, I didn't get the birria, which is what they're actually known for here. So this time, birria nachos. I know it's not tacos. It's still let's talk about it, though. Ivan will represent on the taco side.
On the tacos, yes.
Okay.
Well, cheers. Thanks so much.
Cheers. I'm excited to enjoy this. Yeah. If y'all haven't been here before, if I can like paint the scene a little bit, you obviously see our colorful table. But all of our other episodes have kind of been more in like a restaurant setting. This is truly more of the taco truck setting, but it's unique in that it has like the whole parking lot is the business.
Seating available.
Yeah. Covered seating. This is beautiful at night. Way they have all the lighting done and everything, and it's kind of in the middle, right between downtown, midtown area, right before you go into downtown, I should say, and it's really nice because there's always families here. When is it the right time to just indulge in all the food? Like after a good workout, or like don't do it at all?
I mean,
From a fitness perspective, because I'm definitely like all over.
I would say that there's a way to do it in the right way. I mean, it obviously depends on like what your preferences are for splurging. You can eat really well, flavorful foods and things like that. I'll make them healthy. You know, like I'm partial to ribeye, the barbecue. So you can barbecue and keep it relatively healthy, you know, keto friendly. The pastries and things like that, objectively, you know, save those for the morning time or like on holidays. You know, save it for a reason to celebrate. When there's a reason to celebrate, you know, birthdays, celebrations, New Year's Eve, Christmas time.
I feel
because you can honestly like throw your whole month off. You can throw your whole month off easily.
That's why I feel like, so we kind of got off track with our nutrition. And even though I was still doing movement, I wasn't doing strength training. And this past week, and this isn't even necessarily for the podcast, but this past week, I like literally have been feeling just like loaded at a different level to where I just feel like stuffed. Like I'm hungry, but I'm already stuffed as if I already ate. And then if I start eating, I'm like, oh, I can't eat anymore. Like, it's so weird. So I feel like this week I need to focus on just like cutting out all the carbs, a lot more hydration, and just like detoxing the body a bit, because something I ate or the weeks of bad eating is like, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I recently fought. So I've been kind of off track with my diet, but I'm familiar with what you're saying. Feel, you know, puffy and lethargic, uncomfortable in your own body. And so, you know, sweets, dairy, you know, sugary crap, ice cream, pastries, donuts. Once in a while is okay.
Yeah, I think this last 2 weeks, the issue has been convenience. Like, because we got out of our prepped cycle, I guess, or like our schedule of prepping, it threw us off so much. So we were like, oh shoot, well, we got to go get food. So it's not always fast food, but it's always like takeout of some sort for the last week.
Yeah, especially think about it, restaurants want to maximize their profits, so they're using lower quality ingredients. They're doing things to make it more flavorful and more palatable. So you got like higher sodium content, maybe sugar in the sauces. I think they're like if you want it. So there's some things that
It's a good point.
I've noticed when I eat out. That's why I eat mostly at home. And you can make it convenient. You can do meal preps.
That's why we were doing meal preps and we were doing really well with that. And then once we got off track for like a week or two, it was really hard to get back into it.
Honestly, I found that like the thing that takes the longest is the cleanup.
Yes, that's the worst part.
I like to barbecue. And there's not as much cleanup time if you barbecue. So that's like my preference. If I'm gonna cook at home, I prefer to barbecue. And then like save the cleaning for. I don't prefer to clean at all. I don't want to clean any of it. You know, if it was cost effective, I'll have paper plates and napkins and stuff like that. And then you say barbecue, you don't have paper plates, so and the trash.
We do paper plates a lot lately. And it was for that exact reason. It's like, oh my gosh, if we're making all the time to do this, we'll get to where we're getting the real plates. But for now, with all them kids, like, I don't know how you do it with 3 kids.
We get them to participate. They participate in cleanup. They participate in food prep.
Mhm.
You know, I found that the younger they are, the more inclined they are to help.
Yeah,
As they get older, not so
not
much.
interested. Oh,
At least that's what I found.
yeah.
There's
Oh, the
some of the
juiciness.
burrito. What do you think about it so far?
Good. It not quite as strong in like the juicy flavor as I expected. I was worried actually that it was going to be like too greasy for me, but this isn't like greasy at all on my end. Probably not until you dip.
Not that greasy.
No?
Spicy.
Yeah, that's why I always am nervous to order birria because I'm like, it's going to be so greasy and then I'm going to feel that later.
Yeah.
But this isn't feeling greasy at all. I'll try to wait because I don't want to like ask you a bunch of questions while you're trying to eat. So you let me know when it's a good time.
I don't really have much of a problem
Okay,
talking and eating. So
cool.
you want to get chatting? We're gonna do that.
I do because I'm like, you already kind of brought up you had the fight recently, but
Right.
I don't know that much about your history as a fighter. So I was hoping you could kind of fill me in of like why you got into fighting in the first place and at what point that transitioned to opening your own gym.
Interesting, really in San Jose. It's like a hotbed for martial arts and MMA. So when I was a kid, my stepfather, who's actually into real estate, he had some business partners that were into martial arts.
Mm.
So he and his business used to sponsor the local kickboxing shows.
Mm.
So like when I was a kid, I used to go to the Strike Force shows over here at the San Jose Civic Auditorium. And you know, there's some world famous people,
Mhm.
you know, legendary San Jose people that I saw fight as children, as a
Yeah.
child, and then they opened up a gym. And then I heard about it, you know, growing up, I got into wrestling. I had the opportunity to end up going like in my later 20s, mid
Okay.
20s, because I was a traditional athlete
Okay.
first.
What sports?
I played football and I wrestled like through high school.
Okay.
That's when I got into fitness. It was like through high school athletics. That's,
Okay.
you know, weightlifting and sports specific training, trying to improve for the next season. And then when I was in college, I became a personal trainer to like supplement my income.
Smart.
So I was into fitness. I had just ended my football career at Washington State University.
Okay.
I came back. I was in a transitional phase, but still looking for something to compete in.
Yeah.
So I joined the local fight gym, world famous, you know, AKA American Kickboxing Academy. It's a
Okay.
legendary gym here in San Jose.
Mm. And when you say you ended football at Washington, was that by choice? And like, was it all 4 years, or you just did it partially?
Well, I was a standout junior college linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to toot my own horn or anything, but
Suit it.
I went to West Valley College over there in Saratoga. I was a two-time first-team All-State junior college
Wow.
linebacker, honorable mention All-American. Got recruited to play up at Washington State. Went up there shortly after my arrival. I tore my quad.
Oh.
So I had these professional athletics aspirations and intentions to, you know, have an illustrious career and do well at the Division I level. However, that didn't pan out. So
Mhm.
when
That's
I
like
came back,
exactly why I asked too, because it's like, okay, we can grow to where we can say it easily, but I'm sure at that time that was really hard to like face.
yeah,
We always joke Ivan the Stoic, so it's hard to tell, you know, like what gets you or not.
well, at the time it was devastating, but you know, in retrospect, I heard this thing that recently says, "Aren't you glad that it was God's plan and not your plan?"
Mm,
So when I think about it, it helped me grow
yeah.
as a person and really diversified myself and you know, the adversity that you encounter in your life helps develop your character moving forward. So
Absolutely. Fully
yeah,
agree with that.
I had some bitterness, but I
Got through
wouldn't
it
be who I
eventually.
am now if that didn't happen.
Right. So apologies. Thank you for that moment. What happened after that? That was when you got into kickboxing or
No,
after healing?
that's when I kind of doubled down on being a trainer here in the South Bay. And that's how I got
Okay.
into fitness.
So you came back?
I came back from school, re-enrolled in my junior college. I changed my major from sociology to kinesiology, and then transferred to Cal State East Bay,
Okay.
where I finished up my degree.
Nice. Okay. So your degree's in kinesiology. That's brilliant.
Yeah, so now I finished that up, and then while I was over there, I did play arena football for a brief period with the San Jose team, and that was very brief. So then I transitioned into martial arts shortly after that.
Okay.
I started doing jujitsu and got into kickboxing and started losing weight.
Mhm.
You know, it's more burly playing football.
Okay.
And I would say I probably had maybe 2 years of training in martial arts prior to having any competitions.
Okay.
Right. So I did like some jujitsu competitions and things like that, but I consider like the fights, the amateur fights. And like as I first got into it, it's initially something to like help propel my training.
Okay.
So I wanted to learn how to hold pads for clientele. At the time, martial arts coaching and training was popular for fitness.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm gonna hold pads for my clients, let people punch mitts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the route wasn't actually to fight at first.
Not initially.
Okay.
Yeah, not initially. I had my own self-limiting beliefs and thinking like, oh, that's not for me, and I'm just gonna be a gym coach and gym trainer, and then maybe get some like high-profile MMA clients,
Yeah.
like fighters to train. Because I was more interested initially in athletic development.
Yeah. Okay.
So I always call myself like a fitness first.
Yeah. Did you ever work with youth on the athletic development side? Or was it always focused on adults?
Mostly adults, but I have worked with some youth athletes. Like my preference would be to work with middle school, high school age, college age youth, as opposed to younger people. But I have recently started youth boxing courses at my gym.
Yeah. Okay. That's neat. Okay. This is definitely parts of the journey that I did not know you had. When did family come into play?
Well, you know, shout out to Najette, my wife, but she and I met at West Valley when I was 22. So I
Wow.
remember I told my quad of the Washington. I finished up the semesters on my 22nd birthday, December 7th, probably 2008 or 2009. I drove 14 hours from Pullman, Washington, back to San Jose, and then I re-enrolled in the West Valley College. And then, you know, there she was. You know, there's a bright light shining down on her.
Ivan the hopeless romantic.
Right. So that's how I met her, and she and I were pretty friendly for a few years prior to anything progressing. But we had our son at I was 28.
Okay.
Yes, I was 28. So
It's a solid age.
2015, October 19th, 2015.
Oh, it's an October baby too. I didn't realize that.
So, you know, we started our family that day.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't an accident by any means, but
Not entirely planned either.
I mean, not. You can never necessarily plan for how your life transpires. You can have some idea of how you want it to go.
Open to the
Basically,
opportunity.
be ready to pivot. You know, shuffle side to side.
Yeah.
You know, here we are.
And what's Najet's degree in?
Kinesiology as well.
Were you in some of the same classes?
So that's where I met her.
Okay.
But she and I were in the same class.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, was it just on campus or you were in classes
no, we
together?
Were in class. Well, we shared a human anatomy course with cadavers.
Human anatomy, huh?
Yeah, so then I ended up transferring out. She got her degree from San Jose State.
Okay. Oh, that's so cool. It's nice to know like the origination story too. So once y'all obviously had one kid, second kid, third kid, I'm curious, especially from the perspective of like a newer mom, like what has it looked like for you balancing business and family life with the kids?
Well,
Because I definitely find it challenging, but I'm learning every day.
I've been in a really fortunate situation to where I've always managed to reduce my commute.
Okay.
So, for example, I had a gym from 2014 to 2019, my
Mm-hmm.
first gym, which is more of a
So is that
strength.
the IB
Yeah,
Strong?
IB
Okay.
Strong, strength and conditioning. And so that was my first gym. And that was a 2-minute walk from my house.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the clients that I had initially, his son was moving out to some other place. He said he had some space available, a house available. It just so happened coincidentally to be 2-minute walk around the
Okay.
corner. So then I was readily available. She would come walk the baby in the stroller over. We would transition and she did independent
Okay.
independent massage therapy.
Gotcha. So she's
So
created her own schedule too at that time.
yeah, and we're both fortunate in that our families are local. So at the time, my mother had a day to watch our son. My
Mhm.
sister would come through.
Okay.
Her mom would come by,
I love it.
and
It
then we
takes
were
a
just so
village.
close.
Yeah.
So that was initially how we were both able to maintain and propel ourselves in our business. But I mean, with so many moving parts, it can be challenging.
Hmm.
So for a time, I would work only in the mornings
Okay.
to drink clients home.
Yeah.
And then she had her afternoons to kind of
Just taking turns. Yeah. Okay.
join
I think that's what I hear more than
co-parenting, I
anything too.
guess.
Is like
Shared schedule.
just villages. Yeah. It's like a lot of times you can't control your schedule. So you control what you can and then
Yeah.
you ask for help and you actually lean on family. And that's actually more challenging for me than I expected in terms of the limiting belief side. Now I'm like much better with it. But when we started, it was like I feel bad asking people for help, or I just had this thought in my mind that you can only ask so much, and then it's like that's a
Right.
cutoff. Like you can't keep asking. So
I mean,
I'm glad I have learned much differently from our families that they
I
have
would say
continued
everybody
to be
has
so
their break,
supportive. Yeah.
but they want to help.
Hmm.
Somebody wants to help. It can kind of be a double-edged sword. People can be helpful and then become resentful, or sometimes people can help with the intention that you're going to do what they say.
Mm,
So that's another thing maybe I experienced.
yeah.
Maybe I did. But
Maybe it's to do what they say. Yeah. I'm following. Okay. So the next kind of topic maybe relates to even how you're talking about your commutes and like just being local in general. Like when you can choose to be local, that's one of the things I love is I like living in a place where I can walk to other places I like, whether it's a coffee shop, a restaurant, the
right.
park, whatever that is. But as a transplant, I'm constantly discovering new areas that I'm like, how did nobody tell me this was here? So I'm curious, as somebody who's grown up in the South Bay area, what are some of like your favorite spots that you would recommend other people to check out, whether that's parks and green spaces or restaurants or whatever you like?
Well, the great thing about San Jose is that it's close to a lot of other places. So, for example, you're like an hour and a half, 2 hours from Carmel, Big Sur,
Love that
world
at
famous
Carmel.
place. You can go up to San Francisco, it's an hour away. You can go across the Golden Gate Bridge. West Marin is beautiful. You got Tahoe close by, within a day's drive. Of course, Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much different
You like water, then is what
activity.
I'm taking.
I mean,
You
yes
like
and
being
no.
around water and nature?
I like water. I like hikes. We've got the redwoods, Big Basin State Park. There's lots of parks here in the Bay Area, South Bay,
Yeah.
that you can explore. Mission Peak, I'm sure you can have.
I still haven't been to
Mount
Mission Peak
Hamilton.
either, but I've heard mixed things about it. Some
Mount
people say
Humminum.
it's worth it, some people say it's not.
I haven't climbed it, but I've been up to Mount Humminum, which is really cool. And I've been up to Mount Hamilton, which is another cool spot to check out. There's little hidden gems out in Morgan Hill and Gilroy as well.
Mm.
So I would say that's one of the major benefits of San Jose.
Yeah.
Within San Jose, the park where we live, O'Connor Park, not to blow up the spot, but it's a really charming, shaded park, and it's really family oriented. It's relatively safe, for the most part. So that's one of my favorite places. And honestly, downtown San Jose in general, I think is one of the better places to live here in San Jose because of how convenient
I
it is.
agree.
So, you can access all the freeways.
Yeah. And it's
another
not.
great one is Alviso. I don't know if you've been to Alviso.
I haven't.
But that's a really,
Been to
really
Alviso.
spectacular type of place. There's a ghost town that you can explore there.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna send Angel in there and just report back.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on the downtown piece. We're kind of looking to move downtown within the next year or so. But it's we lived in Midtown, and I always have been that person that I avoided downtown areas in terms of living. I'll go explore there, sure, but I never want to live in a downtown area because in my mind, I always thought of it as more on the unsafe side and not good for families and kids. And I think San Jose has this unique downtown that it doesn't feel like that at all. Now that I've lived Midtown and so close to here, I'm seeing that. It's still a downtown area where it's more condensed. You're going to have higher density, but some of the places we're looking at right across from San Pedro Square, which is one of my favorite places in San Jose to just go work, go get coffee, meet with folks. Right. It's just such a beautiful area for community to come together. So now my mind has changed. I'm I would be open to living downtown, just not with a balcony, because that would stress me out with the kids.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, everywhere has its positives and negatives.
Yeah.
But downtown San Jose has some really, hidden gems.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hensley District, I don't know if you're familiar.
Not
Victorian
Hensley
Homes.
District. Okay. I know even just walking a lot, going to the Alameda. I love just walking through those neighborhoods. I call them cottages because they all just look like these cute smaller homes. Yeah, all around the Rose Garden neighborhood. So cute. Okay, so with that, I'm I like hearing about the nice things in a way. And at the same time, Silicon Valley definitely has this perspective from the outside world that it's all about tech. So we can talk about all these nature spots and this and that, but outside world doesn't always see that. So just kind of redefining the Silicon Valley has been a little bit of a mission of this series too. But part of it is, how do you see tech and wealth in your world? Especially growing up around here, just what have you seen that has maybe changed your perspective on it, if anything?
Well, being a San Jose local, or at least the local of the South Bay, I have seen a huge influx of international people, which I think is a huge benefit to the diversity and perspectives that are brought here. A lot of people complain, at least within my circle, about how expensive it is. I think that there is, some limits. But if you think about it, this would be comparable to Rome. This is the place where everybody from all over the world comes. There's people who come here for, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, make their money and then go on to the next place. So
right.
I think it's a benefit to me to be here because not only am I exposed to, wealth and high earners and high achievers, but I get the opportunity to interact with them. And then I'm not going to use the word exploit them per se, but take advantage of their proximity to me.
Yeah.
So I can, fund my own endeavors.
So, well, when we say wealth, how would you define wealth?
I mean, financially speaking, there's, really high earners here. This is the heart of Silicon Valley. We've got Google within 15 miles. You name it. Adobe, Zoom. Some of my peers have gotten stock options in some of their things. Millionaires all over the place. We've got Maserati dealerships, Ferrari dealerships. The mall has, you go to the mall, you see every famous high-end brand.
Right.
So There's definitely a lot of money to go around here in
Mhm.
San Jose.
Okay. What would you say is your tip on for anybody like who wants to build wealth that doesn't know where to start? Maybe newer to the Bay Area.
Well, let's say if you come from the Bay Area or from someplace else to the Bay Area, just be prepared for a fast pace. You know, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to have the luxury of bad days.
Mm,
You know, every
so
day, the
true.
minute you wake up, the minute you open your eyes, you got to be ready to go and go get after it. Especially if you're in the service industry, you've got to be on top of your service, make sure that you're providing that top-notch service to your clientele. Make sure that people are going around talking about how great
Yeah.
your space is, how great their experience was. You know, be ready to put your smile on, go interact, shake hands, kiss babies. Every day, if you have an opportunity to potentially change your life
Yeah.
at the local coffee
That's
shop, you can
the
run into
anywhere you go
Elon
here.
Musk. You know, you never know.
Shoot. If that happens, I might be like, Ivan told me that you'd be here. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
I was prepared for this.
Yeah, the weather's great. The sun shines like 300 days a year.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, so your journey has jumped a bit, always kind of within the fitness world, athletic world, in some space from what I'm hearing on the career side. But
Yeah.
that entrepreneurship is definitely a choice also.
Right.
So I know that's probably what I've learned the most life lessons from is relationships and entrepreneurship. So I'm curious if you were to like maybe pick 3 life lessons that have stood out to you the most that you would want to share with others, what would that be?
Life lessons, like obviously within entrepreneurship, I've learned a lot of lessons and they're all comparable, you know, relatable and comparable to fitness and martial arts. Like
Right.
entrepreneurship, fitness, martial arts are very comparable in the
Yeah.
fact that, you're going to need consistency,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you start a business, you're going to have to put in some effort every single day. Can't take days off. You're not going to be able to go on prolonged breaks. I would say that there's levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
So not only will you have your first idea of what something will be, but then once you can scale it, grow it, then
Yeah.
you can become,
Scaling piece.
a higher earner, and even the amount of volume, the work that you can produce increases.
Yeah.
Once you know, produce 10K, we would sit back and think about, well, how can I optimize that? How can I do it better?
Mm-hmm.
You can produce like 15K, 20K, just keep going up and
Yeah.
up. And then, it's important not to bite off more than you can chew. We all have,
Ooh, done that too many times.
big visions about what we want your future to look like. A guy told me a long time ago when I first opened up my gym,
Mm-hmm.
the first one. He said, look at where you're going to be or where you want to be in 5 years. Look at where you're going to be 5 years from now and then work your way backwards.
Reverse
So if
engineer
you
it.
want to have a house and you want to have fancy cars and you want to have, multiple gym locations, for example, what are the steps that's going to take to get there?
Right.
Just same thing with weightlifting. If you want to have a 300-pound bench press,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to go under 300 pounds and try it. You're going to have to build your way up to it
Mm-hmm.
or work your way back from that aspiration.
Yeah.
It's important to take a step back and try to look at your journey or your vision as a whole. And then also something to think about would be not to stop enjoying the process.
Hmm.
You have to really enjoy the process. The journey, it is the destination.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I was a younger person, I dreamt of having my own gym. I dreamt of having, family and to be a martial art person. And now that I am that, I sometimes lose track. Like, this is what I asked for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, once you get what you want, don't be surprised. It's going to be a hard thing to maintain.
Yeah. Gotta continuously think what's next without losing the contentment in what is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the enjoyment.
Yeah. One last question for you, and then anything else you want to share is up for game. But last question for you would be, what do you want your legacy to be, and how do you want to be remembered?
Well, my legacy goes beyond me as an individual or any of the things that I've accomplished. I think that it's, kind of short-sighted and selfish to think of myself as my legacy or anything that I could do within my lifetime as being my legacy. I think that, I'm really excited to see the things that my children accomplish.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what their children accomplish. And ideally, I would sit back in like 30 or 40 years, let's say 30 years, and look down and see my children with their children. And, ideally, under most optimal circumstances, my wife is sitting right next to me and we can, look at our legacy.
Yeah.
Not as opposed to like,
Something
looking at
people would
something
say,
on
but it's
a
literally there.
on a trading card or something like that. That would be cool, but
Yeah.
life is bigger than my athletics. It's bigger than my business. And so that would be, the end goal,
Yeah.
top goal. To have a good life, have my children who like to be around me, my adult children that I get along with. That would be great.
Gonna be so weird. They grow up so fast, but I can't imagine them as adults yet. I'm like, whoa,
I know.
so much. I love
You guys
it.
about to have like 4 more years.
I know, we got a little time, but not much time. So interesting. Okay, is there anything else that you want me or the world to know about Ivan, Great and Glory? Anything else that tickled your fancy today?
If I could leave you with one thing, it would be that if you're not doing something that challenges you or something that excites you, then you're not doing the right thing.
I'll take it. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Thank you, Con Sabor Mexico, for hosting us and for this delicious food. I know we're like in the middle of the day. We've like debated whether we were going to do it on a morning, a weekend, an evening, but we made it work.
This time is now.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. I hope you're finishing this episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. We want to keep the stories and inspiration coming, so please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Uplift community, friend. Please join us for another episode soon.